Hello and welcome to Smaulgld. In case you missed it, top gold, silver, and crypto stories for the weekend at October 7th, 2018. Well, CFTC chairman says cryptocurrencies are here to stay. Here are some of the stories we're going to be covering. Justice Kavanaugh has been confirmed to the Supreme Court. Ameritrade-backed ErisX set to launch a crypto trading platform to compete with the New York Stock Exchange, and Microsoft's backed cryptocurrency trading platform that will be launched later this year. Schwab board member joins Coinbase board. Endelman Financial wants to add crypto assets to clients' portfolios. The SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, sets an October 26th deadline as to whether they're going to approve a Bitcoin ETF. So there's a full round of them in there that they're going to look at, and we'll know by October 26th. Malta's prime minister says cryptocurrencies are the future of money. Commodities Futures Trading Commission Chairman John Carlos says we are leading in many areas of crypto innovation in the United States. Yale's endowment fund manager eyes crypto assets for Yale University. The Lightning Network expands, and China opts for more debt as defaults mount. Let's take a look. And as we're scrolling down, we see those Smaulgld mugs still available directly from Smaulgld headquarters. You can get the Smaulgld Super Classic mug with free shipping for $23.99. That's priority shipping. And you get a free Smaulgld Game Changer eraser packed right in there with a personal note. If you order the Smaulgld Super Classic mug, the Smaulgld Classic mug is also available with the logo on both sides, and that is for $19.99. You will also get a Smaulgld eraser. Also, consider joining the Smaulgld Mug Club and the Smaulgld Double Mug Club. Details available at the Smaulgld Patreon page, and you can get that by clicking below this video, this BitChute, this YouTube, or going to the Smaulgld website and clicking on the Patreon link. Okay, let's get into the stories of the week and how gold and silver did. Before we do, let's cover what we've already covered. Smaulgld has nightly, 7 days a week, at 8 o'clock or sometimes 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, a live stream where we cover a variety of topics. And I'll just quickly go through what we've covered this week. If you can join us every night, that's great. If you can't, you can catch up here. Early in the week, we did the COMEX default story, and we went through why COMEX is not going to default. Won't go into the reasons now. If you're interested in COMEX, please check that out. We also went through why the CIA paid close attention to gold in South Africa back in the late 60s and early 70s. Litecoin, we had an interview with John Moore. He is a payment processor, and he spoke to us about how Litecoin works in the payment process area. We caught a statement that Donald Trump made about wanting Saudi Arabia to pay for its own defense, and we thought that might violate the petrodollar agreements. Full analysis at Trump just signaled the end of the petrodollar. Perth Mint gold sales leaped higher in September. Silver sales were also up in September, and we went over the commercial position at the COMEX for silver is now net short once again after reaching that, quote, historic long position, and now they are once again short. So check out all those Smaulgld live streams, or the ones that you're interested in, or just join us each and every night on YouTube at 8 or 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Well, gold closed the week. It was at 1203, which wasn't bad, which was up from 1192. And silver closed at 1464, which is basically flat on the week. Gold-silver ratio about 82 to 1. All right, let's see the big stories of the week. Uh-oh. You know, we haven't been doing Moronica, but there's plenty of Moronicas. I've had the time to get to it. But now clapping apparently has been banned at the University of Manchester. The student union says at these events, people could get anxious, and so they encourage them to use jazz hands. I have no idea what jazz hands are. I had to look it up. Apparently, it's like waving your hands around without making any noise. Uh-oh, well, this doesn't show up here, and thankfully, you're going to avoid having to watch it. But those you may recall that Theresa May was doing her boogie down impression, and I think she was in South Africa. There was a couple of places where she went in South Africa, and she performed some type of dance. Well, at some conservative conference the other day, they played ABBA's Dancing Queen, and she came out in full boogie mode again, and oh my goodness, you don't want to see it. This other thing that appears to be missing is history lesson. I'm going to have to pull this one up. I don't know why. Oh, I know why it didn't come up. It's because it's next to a link there. But here's what she had to say. This woman is really, she keeps giving us good information. It's well past time we eliminate the Electoral College, says Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a shadow of slavery's power on America today that undermines our nation as a democratic republic. At least she recognizes it's a democratic republic, but what she should realize that part of being a democratic republic is to make sure that we don't have a pure democracy, and the Electoral College is designed to do that. It had nothing to do with slavery. But that's what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says. She also said during the week that, you know, it's not like I'm going to get in there and start signing legislation and executive orders or something like that. I don't think she understands what the job is. This is less like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington than, I don't know. We'll see how she does. Apparently she's a shoo-in because she comes from a district that will elect her, because whoever the Democrat is gets to win. Okay. More stalking and heckling. This one, Fox and Friends, this guy, I guess he's on the morning show, Fox and Friends, Brian Kilmeade. I actually got to see this, and these two comedians supposedly followed him around, had a video of him. They were nice in the beginning. They want to take pictures with him. But then they followed him into the subway and started harassing him and telling people, he's a racist guy, and he's, you know, from Fox and Friends, and then they followed him to Jamba Juice, and well, the heckling didn't go over very well. In the comments section, they tweeted like they were heroes, and eventually they had to take down make their Twitter protected. They finally took the YouTube down that they had posted. It seemed to have backfired. I'm not sure that getting in people's faces is a winning. I don't know what people intend to accomplish by doing that. You inconvenience someone, you harass them. So what are they going to do? They're going to change their opinion? I still am of the view that if you want to talk a right-wing or a left-wing person out of their position, or at least try to tell them why you disagree with them, but just harassing them on the subway or getting in their face or forming a crowd, I'm not sure what that does. I'm not sure that that's effective at all, but that's what's happening today. And it's the same thing here. Democratic staffer Sheila Jackett arrested in GOP doxing. All right, so you know where they live, and now you go and harass them. I don't think that's going to change their opinion, and it's going to get you arrested, I think. All right, very quickly, we're not going to go through the whole Kavanaugh confirmation thing that happened. Just let's know that he was confirmed and that there was a real battle for him, and it all started after the formal portion of the the testimony and the questioning of Kavanaugh was over. It came at the 11th hour, 12th hour, whatever you want to call it, where they had one allegation of sexual misconduct and another, and eventually they worked all of that out. They went back and forth, people yelling and screaming. Trump got involved, discrediting one of the people who had come forward, saying her story wasn't straight. It was a big mess, and eventually Kavanaugh got confirmed 50-48. Just a couple of points on that. It used to require, I think, 60, but they changed the rules. The Democrats changed the rules to make it easier to get their candidates through, and I think they probably regret that now, because Kavanaugh would not have been appointed because it was 50-48. And also, one Democrat voted for. It was Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia. That is a very pro-Trump state. I think he won that by 40 points. And the one Republican voted against him was Senator Murkowski. She's a, quote, maverick from Alaska. And actually, I think she didn't even end up voting no. She said she was going to vote no, but her vote canceled out another Republican who was at his daughter's wedding, so it ended up being 50-48 instead of 51-49. All right, but one thing that the question I asked, it's just an interesting, doesn't mean anything. I was interested as to why they were pushing to try to stop Kavanaugh so much. It seemed they were throwing everything at the last minute at trying to stop this. And they did say they wanted to stop it even before they knew who he was. But it seems to have been a tactical mistake, because the two questions I thought they had prior to him getting confirmed was, they can all line up and vote against him. And I don't know if they know this, but there's certain Senate seats like Montana, West Virginia, where they could lose because they're in Republican states, very big Republican states, McCaskill in Missouri. So they can at least lose those three and possibly others. And if that's the case, well, if they vote anti-Kavanaugh now, they might lose the Senate seats, which might make the Republicans have like a 53-54 majority, which would make it very hard for them to stop future nominees, which most likely they're going to be in the next 2 or 3 years. And if they did stop Kavanaugh, then they would just have put him up again when they had the votes. So I'm not sure what they gained by doing that, unless they thought for sure they're going to win. Or they could have voted for Kavanaugh, dropped the whole thing, not dropped it, but just said that, okay, we respect this and we're gonna vote for him, and then maybe the backlash might not have been as great, and they might even have retained the Senate or maybe even gained some seats, and then they could block future candidates. And I thought, I knew what they would do. They would not give in. And the scorched earth policy, we'll see. Who knows whether it was a good policy or not. We'll only know in retrospect after what happens in the midterm elections. But what has happened so far, it appears, is that the Democrats were looking to win certainly some seats back in the House and possibly in the Senate. But it appears, at least where the polls are now, that the Senate seems to be slipping from their grasp. So, but again, one thing that people never understand about polls is where the polls are today are not where they're going to be a month from now. So you never know. There may be another defining moment. Okay, well, that's enough on this Kavanaugh stuff here. But you can go through. I put some of the relevant links, and you can check them out if you want to follow all the drama leading up to it. But I'm not going to go through it. You either live through it, or if you want, it's all on the website, Smaulgld.com. You can go through and see how we got to the Kavanaugh nomination. But this is a gold and silver, mostly in cryptocurrency, so we're not going to go through all that. Just wanted to cover, it was a big deal, and the fact that there is this partisan divide is going to impact the market, so it's important to follow it, but I don't want to dwell on it too much right now. All right, Argentina peso tumbles, a central bank resigns. I don't know if that should help or hurt, but it hurt. Here's just a point on the Constitution. Prior to 1913, the senators were not elected by the people directly. They would vote for their state legislature, and they would vote for the senators. And I was wondering, I said, well, that doesn't sound right. It makes more sense to vote for the senators. But actually, it's better. It makes it, the old way, I believe, is better. It gives people, and the state representatives could recall their own senator. So the people had a bigger or tighter but a tighter grip on their senators. What happens now is you elect a senator in 2018, and then you never see him or her again because they're there for 6 years, and they're in Washington, and they could be bribed, lobbied, or whatever, and 6 years they come back to you, and the damage is done. They either represented you well or they didn't. By having the state senators elect them, it's less likely they're going to be bribed because you have to bribe all of the state senators who are going to vote for the senator, whereas today all you have to do is nationally you can find somebody in the state, prop them up, and then the lobbyists can get to them. But what was interesting, I wanted to go back and look at what would happen without the 17th Amendment, which would allow for the direct election of senators. And I noticed that Republicans they control 31 state houses in the United States. That would mean they probably would send 62 senators to the state house, to the Senate, as opposed to 51 that they have right now. Okay. The other thing is, just I'm trying to get away from this topic, but we did cover it during the week, is it looks like the Trump poll numbers are moving up as well. Now, it's a Rasmussen poll, but the Rasmussen poll has shown for a long time at one point that it was 57-43 against Trump, disapproval. But the one thing I like about the Rasmussen poll to follow is they don't just say for or against. And right now they're saying it's 51% for, 49% against. But the more important thing I like about the Rasmussen poll, just to follow it as an internal matter, the way they have it is, they have a thing called strongly approve and strongly disapprove. And at one point, the strongly disapprove for Trump was like 47%, and then total disapprove was like 57%. And the strongly approve was only like 23%. What's happened in the Rasmussen poll is not that it's 51-49, that's significant, but that the strongly approve is now 38% and the strongly disapprove is 39%. So that means that currently we are, I would say, pretty much split right down the middle. There are people that are really in favor of Trump at 38% and really against them at 38%, 39%. And then overall it's 51-49, and give your margin of error, it means every other person is totally for or totally against Donald Trump. Now, but it's not that way. It's not like the person next to you is most likely to be for or against him. It depends where you live. There's very few areas that reflect this 51-49 split. This is a national poll. If you're in California, it's more like 75-25. And if you're in West Virginia, it's the same thing on the other way around. All right. Now, as to the, we haven't heard much on the Mueller investigation, and that's because I think Mueller wants to not play politics. He knows that Comey messed up. The Inspector General said that he messed up, that you don't start throwing out stuff during the election, and right now it's October. So if whatever Mueller's going to do or announce, or he's going to do it after the elections in November. But the Republicans are still investigating and interviewing people, and apparently there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. The Republicans seem to think that they have the dirt on how the Russian investigation came about the Pfizer warrant, who was involved, what they did, and they recently interviewed this Baker judge, and apparently he's cooperating with them and saying that there seems to have been biased and that the Russian investigation was handled in an abnormal way. Now, the Inspector General is also looking at how the Russian investigation was handled, and they gave a pretty scathing review of how the Clinton investigation was handled, but they didn't cover yet how the Russian investigation was handled. So we may see a flip of fortunes on that. If Mueller wraps up and he doesn't have anything on Trump on the Russian collusion, obstruction of justice, and the Republicans win the House and Senate, I think then you will clearly see them flip the tables towards investigating Comey, Mueller, et al. So we'll see what happens there. Now, Rosenstein is at the center of all this. He kind of faded because of the Kavanaugh controversy, but he's scheduled to meet with Trump, I think, on the 11th, so Thursday next week. And he's at the center of the controversy because he signed one of the Pfizer warrants, the final one. He appointed the special counsel, Robert Mueller. He wrote a letter saying that Comey should be fired. So, and then the main reason, not the main reason, but the more current reason Trump wants to speak to him is apparently Page and a few others say that he said that maybe he should wear a wire to catch Trump out on the 25th Amendment. So Rosenstein's in the hot seat, and we'll probably get some idea what's going to happen to him later this week. And there's Baker with his explosive testimony. Now, as to the tariffs, Chinese imports of U.S. crude have totally stopped. That's one of the things that they're not buying, and tit for tat with the United States. But China is really in a lot of problem here. Chinese bond market cracks. 2018 will be a record year for onshore bond defaults. And they're worried about a panic, they're saying, in China. They're not doing as well as we might have thought. And of course, they're saying they need more credit. China cuts reserve requirements for banks, which frees up another $175 billion. So the banks just going to keep lending that money out, cutting reserve requirements and so on. And now the U.S. has clearly got China in their sights as the top foreign enemy. It's not Russia anymore. You know, there was a story on Bloomberg, although Chinese deny it, and so do Apple and Amazon and all the other companies, but they're saying that there was a chip that the Chinese put into the motherboards to spy on the US. Let's get into cryptocurrencies, because cryptocurrencies had a huge last couple of weeks of news. Big news and no price action. Now, I've seen this before. Cryptocurrencies, most people have no idea what they are. They don't care what they are. They're not that interested in them, but they know about them. And when the price moves, it moves because the price is going up. That's the main reason. But I've seen this now when the price has risen back in 2009 or 10, and then again in 11, and then everyone forgets about it. But what's impressed me about the space, not that I'm not a big crypto bug fan in that sense. I'm not inherently attracted to it. But what I found fascinating was that the people continued to work on these projects. Money continued to pour in. And then the price rises and everybody's interested in it again. But most people are just interested in the price. They don't really know what it is. But the thing that caught my eye and has been catching my eye is this one project, which is a company called Bakkt. And they're going to have a contracts. We have physically delivered futures contracts. And the reason this is significant is this isn't just some rinky-dink company. This is Bakkt is backed by the New York Stock Exchange parent, ICE, Intercontinental Exchange, I think it's called, and Microsoft and Starbucks as a participant. The mere fact that those large entities are involved or want to be involved, and they're going to launch at the end of the year some type of fully regulated cryptocurrency futures, storage, buying, selling cryptocurrencies, I think is a big deal, and it indicates that they believe it's a big deal, and that's why they've spent the last 2 years preparing this foundation. We are building our solutions for buying, selling, storing, and spending digital assets. They're not doing it because they expect it to go away. And here, Coin Bureau Bakkt could provide an on-ramp for institutions to cryptocurrency superhighway, all-encompassing solution that powers adoption, increases awareness. And we're going to see in a minute, there's another one out there. Ameritrade wants to get involved in this, and they're pouring money into a platform similar to Bakkt. But here, the Lightning Network continues to expand. That's a way of getting transactions off-chain so that you can speed up the transactions. They don't cost anything, and then you put them back on the blockchain. So this guy built one for a Coke machine. Now, here's a guy, top Wall Street advisor, Rick Edelman, runs a financial advisory firm. He's saying that he thinks that clients are going to put a small percentage of their assets into cryptocurrencies, and he wants that to be, and that's why these types of arrangements like Bakkt are very attractive to people who run large funds, because they can get their clients into these things. They're regulated, they can feel comfortable about the storage arrangements and so on. But here it just keeps coming. Brian Armstrong, he's the CEO of Coinbase. Now, Charles Schwab, board member, joins Coinbase's board. Now, why do you think they want to do that? Well, Schwab also has a trading platform, and they're going to want to trade crypto assets. We see how Fidelity has integrated Coinbase into its interface for its clients. They all know this is big money if it catches on for trading. You get small percentage of investable assets into cryptocurrencies. It's easy peasy. They go online, they buy it just like they buy stocks, and you're off to the races. Here, this guy, Ameritrade, just went full crypto. He lays out what it means for Bitcoin investors. This Ameritrade deal is one where they, what's it called? It's called ErisX. They invested in that company because they want to set up a platform. Now they're going to be ready next year. They're not as advanced as Bakkt, and that's why you see, they're playing catch up, because I think they realize that this is a big deal and they want to capture this new market. In my view, the reason they want to capture this market is I think the stock market's a little long in the tooth. So is the real estate market. This is the next best thing to boost another bubble. I mean, the Wall Street's been running on bubbles since 1987. They just have to keep boosting them. That's the substitute that they have for real growth, and cryptos can provide that. It's not because I want that to happen. That's just what I see happening. Okay, so now you have Coinbase and Charles Schwab. You got this guy TD Ameritrade going with ErisX. And now you see a lot of adoption going on with the Lightning Network. So you're seeing adoption and use of Bitcoin. You're seeing all these new institutional investor products and platforms being set up to get money to come in. And now you got this guy from Yale. He wants to invest in cryptocurrencies for the Yale endowment. A couple of stories on that. Binance is a crypto exchange. They're investing in Australian startup TravelBit. You got the Soulja Boy rapper singing about Bitcoin. So it's interesting. None of this moved the price at all. This is a huge week, and Bitcoin is just sitting at 6,500, and there's no enthusiasm for it whatsoever. But what's interesting with all this is once there is interest, it ratchets up. So we'll see. I'm not predicting anything. I'm just saying that there's a lot of news here, a lot of money coming in, and nothing's happening to the price. The prices have fallen 50, 60, 70, 80%. Pick your crypto. But here it is. There's the challenge Bakkt in the crypto space. And by the way, you go to the Smaulgld site, you can click on all these links and you can listen to the interviews. It's quite fascinating what's going on here. They're going to provide spot and physical futures as well, ErisX, just like Bakkt is going to do. So for all the people who are saying they're going to ban it and they're going to arrest everybody, that's complete nonsense. We're going to get to what the CFTC chairman said. TD Ameritrade invests in cryptocurrencies. All right. Here's where you can get Litecoin on your cell phone. Salt, you can borrow. And there's a company called Salt. There's like a bank for cryptocurrencies. You put up your cryptos, collateral. All these projects, infrastructure, investment, all happening and continue to happen irrespective of what happens to the price. Malta's prime minister. Now, Malta has been considered like crypto island. It's part of the EU. They're going to have a massive end of month cryptocurrency conference there. The government's all behind it. So, I don't know. I just think there's a lot of excitement around this, even though the price is down. Now, here is John Carlo. Well, I forgot what his first name is, but that's his last name. He is the chairman of the Commodities Futures Trading Commission. This is a very fascinating interview. He's talking about how we want to make it safe for investors. Not we want to ban it, we want to get rid of it. And the interviewer is asking him, we're falling behind because we're getting slow. And he says, no. We're doing things the right way. We're prudent in many respects. We're still innovative. But he says cryptocurrencies are here to stay. And you can just imagine at some point they're going to, CFTC isn't, it's the SEC. They're going to approve one of these Bitcoin ETFs, but it's not going to be one. All of the big players that do ETFs have said they want or filed for getting approval in ETF. It's just a matter of time till they have it. I think they'll approve one once either Bakkt is up as a regulated exchange or Coinbase gets its registration down or Poland, one of them. And then I think the SEC will feel comfortable regulating them and allowing one of the ETFs to go forward. So here it is. US SEC sets October 26th deadline for reviewing 9 Bitcoin ETFs. They've already gotten rid of or dispensed with 6 or 7. Imagine if they approve it, then they're going to have dozens of these things. And it won't be just Bitcoin. Then they'll do Ethereum. Then they'll do Litecoin. More money into the space. Well, here's a surprise. Scotiabank to pay $800,000 to settle U.S. CFTC charges, rigging the gold and silver markets, or I think it was gold in this case. Unbelievable. Gold could get lift from rising Indian imports. We'll see what happens there. Here's an interesting chart. This is just a point I made during the week, is that the gold ETF inflows and outflows closely track the price. Just take a snapshot of that picture, you can see. Italy saying that if they had their own currency, it could solve most of their problems. See, the ECB, I mean, the European nations can't print their own currencies. They have to rely on the ECB, and that's not happening. All right. Let's see what else here. Well, that's about it. I want to thank everyone for joining me today, and please join me each and every night at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on YouTube for a live stream on a topic of the day. Remember to get your mug or other Smaulgld items like a Smaulgld fridge magnet, Post-its, pens, lots of items at the Smaulgld store. You can check them out. Details below this BitChute, details below this YouTube, or on the Smaulgld.com site. Thanks for listening.